Hey everyone, I am Pastor Melissa Reed, one of the Bishop's Associates for the Oregon Synod, and it is my pleasure to welcome Pastor Hallie Parkins, who's one of the new rostered leaders in our Synod. She has been called as the campus pastor to Luther House campus ministry in Corvallis, Oregon at Oregon State University. And it is so good to have you with us, Hallie. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to the Synod. Thanks for talking with me today.
Thanks for inviting me, Melissa.
You're so welcome. So you've been on the ground a little while. When did you arrive in Oregon?
I think I arrived like January 29th and then started at February 1st. So yeah,
Awesome. So it's July when we're taping this. And so you've been here a little while. You're not brandy new. But where did you come from?
I was in Tacoma, Washington at a kind of large congregation in Tacoma called St. Mark's Lutheran Church by the Narrows. And I was an associate pastor. I got
Awesome.
to launch into ministry at this church.
Very cool. So this is your second call. And again, it's campus ministry in Corvallis. And I am curious, what excites you about your new call at Oregon State?
Well, there is so much potential. I think that is a gift. I was really excited when I was dreaming and interviewing and feeling out this call, what life would look like with students and working
Mm.
with students in ministry, particularly. I was curious, like having come off of like a large staff and working with lots of colleagues and beginning to explore a sacred organizing vocational tug, what that might look like in context of rebuilding a ministry. They came in, and it's both a gift and a challenge that things are quite fallow.
Mhm.
And so right now it's really a sweet spot of like being able to like get the lay of the land a little bit and then see what might be possible. So it's like all the dreaming
Mhm.
parts this summer, what this new year will look like, and launching with students and seeing what might happen, what might grow.
Beautiful. I know you're doing a lot of relational work with students and getting to know them. Do you want to share a little bit about kind of what's emerging, or like what their hungers and longings and gifts? Like what are you noticing in these young people?
I think one of the things that just like off the bat surprised me was how kind of deeply Lutheran some of these students are, like very like talk back to their confirmation roots, and like this is where their faith really launched and convicted them, and they feel
Mm.
most radical in faith-based communities, which is pretty amazing and beautiful. Um, I mean, coming out of lockdown and COVID and negotiating like community again and what it means to belong and like have
Yeah.
dinners together, that it feels like flexing skills that um, weren't weren't there, in high school or early college years. So like the
Mhm.
hunger for belonging and togetherness is there. And I think there's also a real hunger to connect those roots of faith or seeds of faith with um, how their life is emerging, and if it's vocation and environmental justice or apparel design, I mean, it's or computer science, it's really like just a delight to see how many people take those like pieces and seeking into like their life that they want to shape.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that they that their roots in their Lutheran tradition and how they've been formed and shaped propel them out in the world, and they need that, and like they are feeling called to like cultivate that sense of belonging in faith community as it propels them. That's really, really beautiful and powerful, and so exciting that you get to help co-create that space with them. I'm curious like, what are your roots, Hallie? Like, what are the experiences or uh, influences that have nurtured your sense of call and how you approach ministry in this place?
I think I could go on and probably talk at quite a bit of length. But I'm thinking probably back to my earlier memories in like third grade when my mom went to seminary and brought me with for like my spring break. So I was with her in class and like taking notes and gel pen and like, and so like being a kid of a pastor, I think really shaped a
Mhm.
sense of call. On the flip side of this, I don't know if I shared this part, Melissa, that she told me if I wanted to heal people, I should become a doctor and not a pastor. But I'm really grateful for this vocation and the freedom and relationships that are allowed to form.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's so many places and communities. I was thinking back, like even high school years, I went to like a public arts high school, and one of my teachers had
Mm.
gone to seminary. And so it'd sit us in a circle and talk about Huck Finn and the gospel stories that Mark Twain wove in of like the fishes and the loaves and Jim floating down the Mississippi and finding liberation in that deep
Mm.
South, like Moses finding liberation in the bulrushes. And so I think that kind of imagination emerged then. Um, went to like college and like was a religion major and so got that really interesting, I think, modern religious thought to like classes on love and Martin Buber and like Sally McFague images of God and
Mhm.
like those kinds of interesting like academic roots.
Yep.
But it was like I think the year after college when I was like discerning seminary and like trying to figure out is this the path or like do I want to try something else? Then I went down to like Ghost Ranch and Golden
Oh, wow.
Village. And I think there is a connection of like living theology. Like somebody described Ghost Ranch as communion bread having broken open with like the Colorado Mesa and the crags being part of the land and the people, and Golden Village cradling you in that deep community space that I think shaped and propelled me into like I hope would be like and it's natural in the Pacific Northwest to like connect to God and nature. So I think in those community spaces offered a little bit more.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So you have like the roots of your family and the experience with your mom, and then um, the academic like layers of theology and making meaning, and then like the space, the physical places that where God, it sounds like, is the presence of God is like pervasive because of the landscape and the communities. I'm curious for you, and in your life. Um, where or how do you experience God or the divine most profoundly? Those moments when you're like, here we are. Here we are together.
I think like the most obvious times are like in those deep Sabbath rest moments. Like, and usually those happen out in nature and like cathedrals of trees and mountain spaces. And I think there's just like a set apartness that happens. And then I think I find or experience God also in community, which like of course, right? But it's those people and their stories and the connections that just like really kind of lights that up. And you know,
Yeah.
there's just a sweetness to being in community with people. And, like every pastor has stories of those times and places and people. And
Yeah. I mean, that's true of all people. Like we have vocation as wherever there's relationship, right? That's a very Lutheran understanding of vocation. And yet there's a sweetness, I think, to getting to be a pastor and stand in those like really vulnerable and tender places and people's lives and hold space and get to see their life as it is, full of God. So I'm so grateful that you're a part of this communion that we call the Oregon Synod. And maybe one last question. We talk about moving together in God's courageous love, and I wonder, this ministry you're doing again is like there's a tradition and a lineage of Luther House in that place, and yet the ministry was fairly fallow when you came into it, and so it's a lot of risk taking, I imagine, and like to try things and fail for the possibility of growth. And what gives you courage? Where do you draw your courage from?
Like, I, that's a really good question.
I threw that one at you.
Yeah,
Like,
that's, no, I
sorry.
really love it, 'cause I'm trying to think, like, when have I, like, really experienced or stood in that, like, huge risk taking and, like, felt
Yeah.
confident in God's grace and the goodness of God to just kind of catch whatever happens.
Mhm.
Yeah, because everything just feels like an experiment, like like a
Yes.
huge risk. Like it doesn't. There's no guarantee that it's gonna succeed in whatever those terms might be. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think, yeah, other people who have taken big risks, um, and tried with other people to cultivate or do something new, that has been super encouraging. And I feel like, yeah, no matter what happens, like I have that community of people too, to like keep pushing me out there and say like, no, it's okay, this is how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have um your risk taking saints, like the saints, the people in your life that are like nudgers, so like you could do this, we could do this. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I don't, do we think of saints as risk takers? I think we should think about them more like that, because often the people who show us the way of faith are just that. So thank you so, so much for hanging out with me today and saying hi to the Oregon Synod. We're so grateful to have you among us, Hallie. Thank you for saying yes to this call and to this place and these young adults, and the future of this ministry that is so vital for our life together.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, Melissa.
Yay. Blessings to you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.